Good morning, San Diego, because we're both in San Diego. How are you, Ian? I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thanks. I'm doing really well. A little early.
Awesome. I know we got to talk a little bit right before we started this, and we kind of lost track of time. So now we can just continue our conversation right before going live. No, but I'm serious. I'm so happy to have you here. I think you are one of the smartest people I've met. So I am very, very grateful that you accepted my offer to come here with me today.
Of course. Yeah. I love hanging out and talking with you and doing all those things.
And I love that we're both in San Diego and we've only saw each other like once.
Yeah. Well, that's just the way it is. We're busy making money and trying to like grow our businesses. So we'll find a time to get some lunch together or something.
Anytime. Once the world opens up, of course. So what have you been doing all this time during COVID?
Well, busy. Yeah. I mean, business is good, right? E-commerce is booming. So we're, just all about trying to figure out how to leverage that. And we put a lot of time into thinking about the future and what does 2021 look like for us, right? So we're spending about a good deal of energy, developing software that's going to help support those initiatives in 2021, where people are trying to increase the size of their business. They're scaling on and off Amazon and looking at those ideas. And then I spent a lot of time with the $1 Million Seller Group, where we, have a community of like-minded people that are driven, that all do 7 figures or more per year. And, it's like endless. We're having calls, we're doing expert series, we have content, we have, presentations, mogul calls, and then just the daily communication. So it's pretty amazing.
So for those that don't know you, I know a lot of people already know you in the community, but for those that don't, do you want to give us a little bit of your background and maybe delve a little bit more into MDS? I know MDS, I love it. So I definitely agree with everything you said, but let's just give everybody else a little background on that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I keep kind of a low profile, I guess, in the community, essentially. But, I am a seller. I recently exited one of my brands over 7 figures, and I built up a group called the $1 Million Sellers, or MDS, people know it as. And basically, it just was a group that I needed a place where I could talk and share strategies and ideas, and other people would, reciprocate. And it quickly grew over time. And, in a few years, we had built this really great community of people who are very closely tied together through supporting each other in our endeavors and growth in our businesses. And so, we've now taken the next step to take this community to the next level. And we, have a lot of events and calls, and COVID kind of got in the way of that, because we were supposed to do our summits and our in-person days and our, training events and stuff like that. But now, we've been able to really do really well online, and now we're doing one-day events, all around the country to support our members, that are in Europe, they're in China, they're in, a lot of them obviously in the US and Canada. So it's really cool to see how we evolve with this online community and the way that we have to interact and try to find ways to bring value to the community, where, that used to be from the networking and the meeting up at these events where you're like, okay, I'm with my people, this is my, this is who I fit with, right? And so that's kind of what I spend a lot of time doing. I still sell on Amazon, still have a few brands. And the other thing, I'm a CEO of RebaKey. So I also do a lot of, similar things that you do, but we have more of a platform-based rebate website, allows cashback for Amazon sellers, Walmart sellers, Etsy sellers, whatever. And you can go and self-service yourself and post up your campaigns in 5 minutes and be driving traffic to your listing, within a few hours. So it's pretty cool and easy way to do it. And we have the largest network we have the largest platform of buyers, over hundreds of thousands of buyers. We have tens and 20,000 sellers. So it's a pretty robust whole thing. So I focus a lot of time on marketing that, and coming up with new ideas and what are the sellers going to want next? What do they need for this year? So yeah,
and
a lot of stuff.
Yes, so RebaKey was born out of MDS, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So the story is that I was driving to work one day, and I'm remembering my old days of working at Circuit City and selling computers, when I was a kid. And I was I remember people would buy these printers, and they come and they'd cut out the UPC and they'd mail it in, and they'd wait 6 or 12 weeks for some check in the mail. And so that's kind of how I was oh, why don't we do this for Amazon? That's better than coupons. And this was around the time where I thought Amazon was easily going to say anything over 50% coupon, we're not even gonna give you any ranking love, no juice, no nothing. Like it's just basically a discounted sale, and that's not really what we care about on our platform. We want really, robust sales. So this was a good way to do that. And RebaKey really did change the game as far as like what everybody's talking about and how they're growing their businesses, and so they're using these rebates. And we feel that this is more along the lines of what Amazon wants, because they want the full commission, they want the full price sales, and they appreciate it. And we're one of the only companies that waits 35 days to pay back the buyer. So when we created this platform, we didn't really want to think about the quick win. We want to think about the longevity of the platform. And so now we're trying to compete with the Ebates and the Rakutens and the Honeys, versus just focusing on how do I service an Amazon seller, while our platform does really well for those people as well. So yeah, so it came out of that. And then the way that it happened was I posted the idea up in MDS, and everybody's like, that's a great idea. And then one of the guys in the group, Leo Lemon, he's my partner now, he was like, let's do it. 24 hours later, he built a website with a credit card form on it and posted to the group. We thought we'd get like 10, 20 grand or something like that. Within 24 hours, we had $100,000, and everybody was like pissed off that they didn't get involved. And people were like, I'm on an airplane, I can't access the form, and so and we had no idea what it would become. It was just this idea like, hey, MDS will have this own little rebate site that allows you to get full price sales, and it just took off. And so through the time and being the first to market, we've been able to achieve like some really great success.
I love that. Have you had any other breakthrough ideas such as RebaKey since starting MDS, or was that like your biggest one?
That's the biggest one. And then recently, Leo and I also, with some MDS people, help create and fund is Elite Sellers, a new tool that's kind of still in beta right now. But people can go to eliteseller.com and check it out. But we have some really great tools that are coming out.
Wow. So you're always working on something, Ian.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I'm not the only one. Like other people in MDS have created Kickstarters, projects, new games. They've joined ventures together. So having this community of people who are just like you, it's really easy to find your partner. It's really easy to partner with somebody and like, okay, let's grow this idea. I mean, there's plenty of other successful stories of people meeting in MDS and then like building multi-million-dollar businesses and exiting. It's crazy. Or
I love
even
it.
finding their love.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was MDS created? What year?
I would say like 2016 it was created, so about 4 years ago.
And
So
you
we just
have
took a really
now a few hundred members, is that
we
correct?
have over 400 members. We have like we kind of do it really slow. We don't let everybody in. It's kind of like you have to fit the culture. You have to fit the you have to be willing to share and contribute. And we obviously interview you in person, face to face on camera, obviously, to see if you're a fit for the community, because we want really like-minded and people that are like each other and they're willing to support. And so we've been growing really slow. We have like a cap per month that we allow into the group, so it's a kind of a process, and it just keeps us a little bit more exclusive and a little bit more prestigious compared to any group that's willing to take you in or take your money. So.
I love that. Let's take a question. We have a question here from Neil. Did you recruit the big international brands to RebaKey? For example, I've seen GoPro and I think Graco as well on RebaKey. What's the incentive for those already known international brands to participate in RebaKey?
I think I'm not sure where those products come from. Some of them are like resellers and things like that, posting stuff. But we are working on attracting large brands through some of our initiatives, and we've had some really great ones. A lot of the bigger brands, they can get away with lower discounts, right? If you get a GoPro for 10% off, it's going to get claimed. So I think they're all just testing out the strategies. No big brand wants to get left behind in the e-commerce boom, and they know that the people at our level are doing all the tactics that they should be doing that they don't do because they're so big and bloated. So we've been able to get a lot of different brands to come and try us out and use us. And if it just adds a few sales a day, if it gets new customers, it helps build our initiative. And that's kind of why RebaKey, as you see, we have a deal section. We also have like affiliate offers similar to like Retail Me Not and stuff like that, so that we're we have Walgreens and Best Buy and other stores like that. So we want to be the platform where everybody can go and all the buyers can go and find deals, and all the brands can go and find people to kind of grab onto their products and engage with the brands.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And Wellington, it's saying good morning. Great information from Ian. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Awesome. I'd love to know more about like how did you even get started being an entrepreneur? Because I think we spoke a little bit before, but I'd like for everybody else watching to know your background a little bit.
I guess I'm what you call a serial entrepreneur. I've always had my own stuff going on, and I always have multiple businesses, maybe to a fault, right? They say focus, 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 and I seem to like focus, and then I just move away. So that's a typical entrepreneur, typical visionary, role that I sit in. And my background's in real estate, so I got my degree in finance real estate from San Diego State University, and I quickly partnered with a couple of guys, and I was doing mortgages and loans, and then we started buying all these properties in San Diego in the college area. Within a couple of years, we had bought over 100 houses. This is back in like 2004 all the way through 2008. Then moved on to Texas, moved to Houston, and started buying up apartment buildings out there and raised some capital. And we bought I think we ended up with like over 1,000 doors within 2 years there. So kind of just like, I know how to do stuff and then like scale, and then figure out like, okay, how do we make this work? So unfortunately with the real estate market, this is 2008, 9, 10, 11, we had other factors that were in our way from scaling up. So it was like bad timing essentially. But we still were able to make a lot of money out there and do quite well, and make some investors money. But basically from that point forward, I was like, okay, I'm looking for other ways I've been in the real estate business now for 10 years. I'm looking for other places to put my money and time, and started investing in a friend's business who was buying HDMI cables in China on credit card. And I was like, hey, I'll give you $5,000. Let's do something together. So we found products, we started importing it. Immediately it was a success. And then immediately we started having our second shipment got confiscated by customs. So we didn't realize we were selling like knockoff stuff. We had no idea that it was like knockoff. We just thought we were getting like actual authentic stuff from China because we didn't know anything. So came around to the Canton Fair. He's like, you want to go to China with me? And I said, sure, why not? Let's go. And so we went, and this is 2012 or something like that. And we went to China and stayed in a hostel and went to the fair and thought we were like, this is the gold, right? We found like the gold. And we was like, every aisle was like, we could sell that, we could sell that. And it's like entrepreneurs in a candy shop, you're just like, yes, yes, yes. And we ended up finding some solar panels. And so we started selling portable solar panels and built a company around that, and eventually exited that company. But we were selling battery packs and solar panels and speakers when Anchor was just a baby. So we're like, dang, if we just focused, we could have been Anchor, we had like a #1 selling Bluetooth speaker for a while. And this is just where focus comes in. And I still have those problems, but I've been able to build some teams around me and have some success. So now I'm not the bootstrap mindset any longer. I do try to bring in the great people to work with me so that I can scale my opportunities up.
So your electronics and solar company, did you sell it because you felt like it was time, like it was doing really well, you didn't want to miss on the opportunity, or why did you sell at that point? What made you do that?
It was just the partnership was ready to change. So, my partner wanted to do one thing, I wanted to do another. And so we just said, hey, we don't need each other to do Amazon. We kind of both had a similar skill set. So when partners have the same skill set, you always have that do we really need each other type of thing. And so, we were friends from college, and we still are great friends. And he's still crushing it on Amazon. Actually has a really great brand management company called Sunken Stone. And so, he's just doing amazing. And then I went off and did this, and I started MDS. Actually, the real story is I started MDS so I didn't have to ask him questions on Amazon, because he was the Amazon guy and I was the retail guy. I was out there selling us to Walmart and Target and trying to get into retail. So that was our shiny object back then. It's like, oh, we're doing great on Amazon, let's try to get into retail, So now when I sell on Amazon, it's just, I'm selling on Amazon. I'm not even really focused on other stuff because I know how to make it work. I know how to scale it up, and the shiny objects take you away from that, and create more work that you don't see the results from, right?
So you just reached out to a few sellers that you knew and kind of asked them to join you in this MDS adventure?
Yeah, well, that too had its own growth path, right? So it started off in I was looking for the right groups, and I was in all the different groups, right? And the same questions: is this a good product to sell? Posting Jungle Scout screenshots or Helium screenshots, and so I found another group called the 10K and up group, and so I had already done 10K, so I was like, cool, I'll join this group, and it was lightly better. And I told the guys you need to create a 50K group, because now I'm doing 50K a month, And my Amazon, once I split ways from my partner, I started a fitness business, and I didn't want to do electronics again. So, within 1 year that started to scale up to $1 million. So it was just like, it just went super fast. And so I kept like going, okay, now we have 50K and up group. He didn't want to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. Then a couple of the guys from the 10K group moved to my group. And then the conversation just kept going and going. And then people kept bringing people in, because you want to be around people who are like you, that are doing the same things as you and are willing to share. And so, a lot of people are just taking from you. And so while you want to give back, you also want to gain some, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? So.
Of course. And I can attest to that, because I've been to one of your MDS events, and I can say everybody there is just like extremely intelligent, and you can just tell they're so focused on Amazon that almost like nothing else exists. And I've only seen that with MDS, to be honest.
Oh, wow. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, it is part of like our culture fit, and making sure that you're a full-time seller, and you're not, MDS is notorious for not having any like gurus or, people who are selling information. It's, not that people don't transition to that and like grow their personal brand and grow whatever, but, MDS's success has been built around like building a really strong, tight community that like really shares things together, and they want to feel like this is a safe place. Right. So.
And I love that you said that you started in real estate and then transition into Amazon. Most people start with Amazon and then they decide where to put their money later. But you're still doing real estate right now, right?
Yeah. I still do real estate. It's a passion of mine. I own rental properties in California, and I used to own stuff in Texas. And it's a really great vehicle now that I'm finding for mitigating taxes on all the income that I make. And I was just telling you about that offline, and we'll grab some lunch and talk about it. But there's a lot of great strategies that I've come to know and learn that you can employ to like mitigate your taxes. Buy property instead of paying the IRS, let's say. So, and they're legal, of course. And so I've always tried to do things like on the up and up. And this is one good way versus moving to like Puerto Rico and trying to do that, uproot my whole family and life. My parents would kill me if I moved out of San Diego next. They just moved down here.
Yeah, and you were born in San Diego, yes, Ian?
I was born in Los Angeles. So
oh, you are, okay.
Lived in LA, did the Bay Area, and then I came down here for college and pretty much never left except for Texas for a few years. So,
wow. And you just wanted to give it a try, or was it more of a business move, or why did you do that?
When we started buying the apartment buildings, that's when we went to Texas, because you could buy, for the same price as a house in San Diego, you could buy 50 units in Texas. It was crazy back then, but that was.
I don't think that that money goes that far now, but still, I was looking in Texas at some properties too, and I can say the prices are definitely way less than they are here in San Diego.
Totally.
But, it's like you have to do something with the money. It's invested into something and not do anything with it at all, because I know a lot of people, they tend to come into some money and then it's like you want to hold on to it, you don't want to see it go away. And that's one hard part that I feel. And I've done that too, coming from Romania. We have the tendency to like hoard money, really, to like keep it there. And then it wasn't until I started like investing a little bit, like I started with stocks and then a little bit of real estate. And now it's just, my first real estate deal was in Nevada, in Vegas. And I was like, do I really need this? Like, what am I doing? And now it's so easy. It's like, I bought this place. I get a rental check every single month. It covers the mortgage, gives me some extra money. And it's like, I know that property is going to be mine forever, or until I decide to sell. So I think that's definitely one of the best ways to invest, additional money that you have coming in. And of course, I mean, if you're an Amazon seller and you want to continue growing your brands, that's also, but I'm always of the opinion of like diversifying your strategies, whether it's stocks and real estate. And, I know you have different sources, right? Beside Amazon and real estate. Do you mind sharing some, or?
Yeah, well, I think just on the real estate stuff, like I think it's good to diversify and have like, truly passive investments. You don't have to, you can hire a property manager and not do anything with it. So it's like, and it appreciates. So that's the best thing about real estate. And a lot of the most successful people in the country and in the world are real estate owners. So it's important to, think about, how do I save my cash so I can go put a down payment on a house, and also think about like ways to be creative, right? Like if you're just a single person and you've now got like 25 grand, let's say, saved up, you could buy a property for yourself, put 5% down, and then rent out the other rooms, and all of a sudden you have a free house. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can go about, using real estate. And then on the flip side, like my background in real estate has allowed me to understand leverage and how to use good debt to grow my companies, right? So a lot of people say, don't take on debt, don't take on debt. Yeah, don't take on bad debt. Take on good debt that's going to support your businesses, that's going to cash flow, right? So, right now you can get loans for 3% on real estate. It's like unheard of. So take advantage of that. But that leveraging, when I was in my business on Amazon and I wanted to grow really fast, I wasn't scared to take on debt because I knew I could turn that money over and make money on it, whether the loan was for 6% or even sometimes I paid 15% when I couldn't get access to it. But that's where a leverage is important to scale your companies. And every company in the world that grows has debt. So, and every business owner that has a growing business has debt. Like almost none of them run just on cash, right? Even if they have lots of cash in the bank, they'll still take on debt. So yeah. It's one of those things that you have to understand.
It's much cheaper to borrow than to use your own cash.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Did you have a mentor before starting real estate, or how did you even get into it? Like, what was the attraction to that?
I just got interested into it in college. I actually I went to college as a computer science major, and I like within the first month, I knew I was like not the computer programmer, more the business person. So I got into business school, and then got a passion for real estate. And before I even graduated, I had went to the Century 21 down the street, and I took night classes and got my license before I graduated and started selling property. So I just have that like urge. I can't wait. When I have an idea, I'm like, I'm gonna just do it, and I just take that initiative and it's really shown in like what I do. And I just don't let excuses be in my way. Like I like to say, just like, what's the worst that can happen? And then I just go and do it. Right. Cause like worst case, you fail, big deal. Lots of people fail, as long as you're not going to lose your ass or lose all your money, then you're going to be okay. So I think like harnessing that power and not letting roadblocks get in your way is like one thing I tell lots of entrepreneurs, like, just go do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And then they go, oh, what if I fail? I'm like, so what? Fail 5 times, then win once, and then you're gonna be fine. So, just do that. But like, if you don't try, if you don't take action, then you're not gonna get anywhere.
I love that. And I feel like that's like a recurring thought that I see from everyone that's successful. They have this mentality of like, it's okay to fail. That's how we learn. Do you feel like you've always been like this, or did something happen in your life to make you like change the way you think? How did you even get to this like enlightenment state? I should call it.
Yeah. I mean, I maybe it's enlightened, but like, it's more for me, it's just like, I don't know, just my attitude on things. Like I'm just a positive person. I don't really dwell in the negative, to my detriment sometimes. And things that my wife might get upset about, like I don't, it just doesn't bother me. And so I kind of just like, I can't change the past. So I can only look to the future. And that's where I like always focus on how do I like do something different to not have that same mistake happen. And part of that, is like having the community of people, like where instead of like trying to come up with my own ideas, I can just share them and then other people can like, help. And so, that has proven to be successful and important in my, most recent ventures, is having the support network and the tools that we have. So yeah, as far as like, how did I learn that? I think that I just had it instinctively. I know some people go through, tragedy or whatever, and I've definitely had my share of like losses in business, that we all have. So, there are times where I lost money, but at the end of the day, I knew that I knew why I lost money, and I made changes to not have that happen again.
And do you feel like that was worth it, like going through that loss to be able to learn this lesson, or looking back, you wish you could have changed something?
Oh yeah, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. So no matter what you do, you wish you could change something. Like whether it's even if you were successful, like if I had just done that earlier, I would have been more successful. So, looking back is always, it's like reflecting, but it's not really helpful as far as like beating yourself up, right? But yeah.
So just don't dwell in it, right? Don't dwell in it.
Like, yeah, the future is the only thing. You can't control the past. You can only control the future. So just work on that. That will save you half of your effort, right?
So when you first started with Amazon, was like one thing that you did that you really regretted that like cost you money or time that you can recall?
I mean, my biggest regret on Amazon was not focusing on Amazon. We were like, oh, okay, we have these solar panels. We joined a incubator here in San Diego that were like a CEO coaching group. And they're like, you need a patent, you need a moat around your business. Otherwise you can't raise money. So then we're like spent a year making a patent and coming up with like electrical circuit that we didn't even know what we were doing. We just hired some like, one of my old clients from real estate was an electrical engineer. So he started tinkering on the weekends, and we filed for a patent, and we did a Kickstarter, and like, eventually like it just didn't, help the business. And we also tried to go to retail. So we were making all this money on Amazon, and we're like, okay, but we need to get into Walmart, on the store shelves. We need to get into Cabela's. We need to get into Big Five and, REI and things like that. So we just went to trade shows and we did all these things instead of focusing on what was actually making us money. And it was partly because we listened to other people's advice, in my opinion, and partly because we just didn't know how good it was at that time. But like I said, I think we had something pretty special early on in 2012 when Anchor, was just selling the same. I mean, I went to my factory in China, and like literally Anchor's boxes were right there, like next in line, and we're like, oh, that's our competitor. Like, yeah, they're growing pretty quickly. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We have better technology than them. We're gonna beat them. We have a Kickstarter coming out. We're like, like our Kickstarter is gonna beat. So but these guys had the deck stack. They had Harvard and Stanford grads and stuff like that, and access to capital. But I think back then it was definitely focused. It was like, okay, shiny thing, and like we didn't realize how good of a business we had, because it was almost like a side business for both of us. And so looking back, I wish we put more time into it, and just like, if something's working, do more of that. That's what I tell. Like, that's my new rule. Is like, if something's working, do more of that. If this one product's making money, work on that one. Don't work on the ones that are like struggling to keep up. Like, how can if it's not at the top, if you don't think it's at the top, like it's easier to double, $100,000 in sales to $200,000 in sales than to get from 0 to 100,000.
That's a very good advice. Yeah, I think I and a lot of people watching, we tend to do this mistake as as an entrepreneur, you want to do so much, and sometimes I feel like my focus strays away from like Rank Bell, even though like Rank Bell is like my best invention, let's say, but it's like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to sell, and I want to create this, and then it's like, oh, I should focus more on this. So thank you for the reminder. Would you say that it's still a good time to invest in Amazon for those that are watching and are maybe scared to take that first step?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. I think you need to take this seriously. So like my pitch is that this is a business. It's not a get rich quick scheme. This is like, treat it like a business. And just think about, like, if you're gonna go start a business, like let's say you're gonna start a restaurant, how much money are you gonna invest in the beginning before you even see a dollar coming back to you? You're gonna invest tens of thousands of dollars. You gotta build up the space, you gotta create the menu, come up with ideas, then you gotta test marketing. And we're like so spoiled on Amazon. Like, if we're not profitable in 30 days, like we're throw the product away, So I think like, really, don't try to come at this with $1,000 and like 1 hour a week, right? Like, you need to put some time in this. If you really want some side income, you can do this, but you have to put in, a few hours a night to really pay attention. And you got to, listen to your podcasts and talk to Rank Bells and use RebaKeys and use all the software tools to help you and watch all the YouTube videos. But yes, I totally think that people can come in and do this, but take it seriously, have a plan, find the right products that are going to have enough margin for you. Don't go after the Me Too products. Like, it's so funny when you see the new sellers, like, what do you think about my posture corrector? You're like, there's so many. How do you differentiate? So always think about how you can differentiate yourself. And, garlic princes, that was a funny story back in the day. So I think, like, yeah, go into this business. It's a great one. E-commerce is now like, I mean, it's exploding even more than it was. Like, COVID took us 10 years forward, right? If you're really good at building a brand and having a really unique product offering, Shopify is going to be very important for you in the next 5 years, right? Customers are wanting differentiation. They want to have interaction with their brands. They want to talk to the customers. So, I think definitely get involved. There's not a better side business that you could have than, e-commerce and Amazon in general.
Even though with the limits and everything else, you still think there's a really good chance for somebody to make it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously, ways around these things. As a new seller, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, but take it slow, learn the basics. I mean, that's the other thing is, like, don't go, your first product, like, go gangbusters and lose everything and then be like, it doesn't work. Like, a lot of people, even successful ones, even myself, I've had plenty of failed products. So, fortunately I was able to learn from those mistakes and build off it, but you will fail. Like, not every product is going to be great. Not every product is going to come out. I mean, I designed a backpack and the straps fell off, and I was like, what the heck? Like, how could the manufacturer not like test the stitching? Like, because when I looked at it, it looked great, but then people put it on, like what? So I lost money on that product. And I just said, yeah. And you're like, what? How are you a backpack manufacturer and you don't know how to put straps on properly? Like, it was like beyond comprehension.
That's a good story. Wow. Yeah. I mean, when people go through this, they don't expect to go through these things, like my sister had a product. She had a jade roller, and I think like 70% of her first shipment, they were all broken. Like that's terrible. And I can see how that can discourage somebody from like moving on. And it's like, why is this happening to me? Like, I spend so much money into this and this. And my sister, actually, she quit. She's like, she's done. She doesn't want to do it anymore.
So she went big, and then, so one little setback,
Literally my own sister. Like, I mean, I have like a good service that, she can utilize and all this knowledge, but she's like, no, she just does real estate. She's not interested in doing Amazon anymore. But I can see how something like this can scare somebody away. So if you're really focused on, create a brand and be successful and maybe sell in a few years or hold it, you cannot give up at the first little issue that comes your way. I mean, I'm sure even you, Ian, even at this stage that you're in and you've created multiple successful businesses, I'm sure you still go through issues, right? And problems that you have to face.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I have products that aren't profitable, right? Like ones you're like, why can't I get this to rank? And, or why can't I keep the reviews up? And, things like that happen. But I think, like, back to your sister, like it's like you have to have like a 3-strike rule. Like, you can't just do something once and go, like, the first time you go play basketball and you didn't make a hoop, are you gonna like stop? Like, no, you have to, like, okay, think about how much she learned just getting to the point of launching that product. So she's not going to make those same mistakes the next time. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to have that thought that, like, I'm going to fail, but I'm going to learn a shitload, excuse my language, and then I'm going to do it again, and I'm not going to make those same mistakes. And so, keeping that going. And now it's like critical to have a super robust launch plan, right? And I was just talking about, having it all mapped out, and you have to have every day already documented for the first 30 days. It's no longer 7 days of giveaways or rebates and you're done. It's a much more thorough business plan, essentially, to grow your brand. And if you take it seriously and you map it out and you follow the plan and not get distracted by shiny objects and why isn't this working and stuff, and just give it some time, you're going to be successful.
Are you still launching products right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's can you walk us through your strategy? Like, what do you do for a successful launch, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, I have a little thing I was just talking about on another podcast, but basically, like, it's really important. Like I said, number one, have a plan, like have the first 30 days mapped out. So, like, you need to know when you order your product, you have 60 days. Like, this is a perfect time to go find some influencers to go buy your product, find a couple of non-connected friends or family that might be interested in your product. Maybe you're selling baby products and you say, okay, this guy just had a baby. Hey, I have a new product coming out. Would you mind buying it? Have your rebates ready to go, right? Create your rebate keys, contact your launch bells, or rank bells, and then also work on your Facebook traffic and, potentially ManyChat flows and stuff like that. So have all that stuff laid out, ready to go, so that you can just push the button, turn it on. And then, obviously you might run into some issues that you have to fix, but like,
and this is before you even launch. This is
before you launch. Don't do this. Yeah. Don't do this on launch day. You're going to fall behind because you have the honeymoon period, right? It's a real thing. It's Amazon saying, hey, there's a new product to the market. Let's see if people like it, right? Because if they don't do that, then only the products with the most reviews and the most sales will ever only be on top. And that's like the whole point of it. It's like, you have to give, if Red Bull comes out with a new drink and it's all of a sudden the best tasting flavor, but their other one has 100,000 reviews, how is the new one ever going to get to the top? So this is how, Amazon, checks that stuff out, and it gives you a little bit of time. They go, okay, this company's probably going to spend a lot of money on marketing. They're going to get, the product out there, and just in general, like, we want to know if this is a bestseller because we don't want to miss the boat on selling this new product, right? So that's what the honeymoon period is. And so you got to take that seriously, and you'll have your most successful launches if you can effectively take advantage of that and create the sales history that you need to show Amazon and the conversion that you need to show Amazon. So that's
I think a problem I see that a lot of sellers do is like they underestimate the honeymoon period, and a lot of them think it's maybe smaller than it is. What is your perception of that? Like, how long do you think the honeymoon period is?
I don't know. I don't try to say how long it is. I know that I need to do a launch plan for, 20 to 30 plus days. And I know I need to be negative, and I know I need to lose money in the beginning. So like, that's the given, right? And, we're going to guess about like, what does it have to be 7 days or 10 days? No, it's literally until you're ranking and you have reviews, you're going and launching and pushing as hard as possible to show Amazon that you have really good products. That's your only go. Because once you do that successfully, and then you're a few months down the road now, you're going to see that your organic sales are going to stick, your reviews are going to stick, your products going to grow organically, and you turn on your PPC, and now all of a sudden you're casting a broader, wider net and showing up underneath other people's products and wherever have you. But, doing it specifically, learning what the keywords are that people are buying from by looking at brand analytics of other people's, your competitors, right? Seeing what the keywords are that they rank for at the top and sell are going to allow you to say, okay, this is my buying keywords. It's not a guessing game. That's the beautiful thing about Amazon. You know who your competition is, and you can see exactly what they're doing. So you know what images have to be better than the other images to win. You know what copy has to be better. Like a lot of, if you have a restaurant, a pizza place, like you can't go to every pizza place and go, oh, my pizza is way better. Everybody has different tastes. Like, and I'm going to put more pepperoni than this guy, right? But on Amazon, it's like, oh, they include 2 earplugs. Okay, I'm going to have 7 earplugs, just in case you have 7 ears. I don't know, whatever it is. But, and like you said, like one of the biggest mistakes I see is people underestimating the launch, right? So like, I'm supposed to give away 20 a day, but I think I could do it with 10 a day. So I'm going to do 10 a day. Okay, great. Do 10 a day. And then your launch takes you, 60 days. And you end up spending more money, and you didn't even get the rankings that you wanted. So like I say, go big or go home kind of thing, right? Like give out more, lose more to win down the road, and don't underestimate what it takes, because these are all estimation tools too. So it could be on the high side or it could be on the low side. Nobody knows specifically how many to give away. So it doesn't hurt to give away more. You can always scale it back, but it's really hard to trick the algorithm to say, oh, we were selling 5 a day, now we're going to sell 15 a day. Well, think about how long you have to go before your average comes up. So it's easier to average down and slow it down. And then the other thing is like the natural launch, right? You want to have your multiple traffic sources, your multiple avenues of where you're going to go, and if you have a plan, then it's really easy to do it. You're prepared, right? So that's my
I really hope everyone watching it's either going to write these things down or come back and watch this, because this is really, really good, Ian. A lot of people I feel like they underestimate and what you said that I love so much. You said expect to be in the negative. I think a lot of people, like even when they come to my service, they say, well, but I'm going to lose money if I do this. And it's like they have the wrong mentality about it. They're like, well, if I give out all these products for free, I'm going to be in the negative. But if you look at any other business, like that is how you start. Like you're very, very few business models out there will make you money without investing any money. So I think that's one key component that people have to realize. And it goes back to what you said, like have a very well prepared launch, like know your numbers, know that, by the time you launch, you need to have money invested in marketing and influencers. And, obviously they cost money. And of course, if you can find some of your friends to help you out, that's fantastic. But you can only find so many friends that can help you have a successful ranking campaign. So I love that. And make sure that you also have enough products to stay in stock, because a lot of people, another thing that they do is like they don't expect to be successful. It's like they're so caught up into like, oh my God, this is going to suck and this is going to fail, that they will, end up having a successful launch, and they're like, oh shit, like what am I supposed to do now? Like I don't have any more products. So when it comes to like keeping stock and all that, do you have any strategies that you can tell us what you do if for somebody that does not have like their own warehouse, since they're just starting out?
I mean, there's a couple of things that you could do. Obviously, like if you're buying in China, it's a lot harder to stay in stock, especially if you don't want to go buy 3,000, 4,000 units of a new product, right? But what you can do is potentially like negotiate. I'll pay 20% deposit on all the materials for those 4,000 units, but I'll only take 1,000 at a time. So the minute your launch starts being successful, they already have the material. They can build it in 10 days and ship it out to you quickly. So, the material cost in China is usually 20 or 30% of the product, and the rest is like their labor and all that kind of stuff. So you can actually have when they have to go get the material, it might take them 2 or 3 weeks actually of the whole process just to get the material to build your product. So if you pre-buy your material but don't have them ship it or make it, then you will actually have ability to get product in your warehouse and to ship faster or in the air. So I suggest that as well, if you can afford to. I think like you need to order about 2,000 units now to launch, just because it's not an 8-day give away 50 units type of thing. It's a lot longer of a process, so you really have to have enough units to keep you going. And the other tip I have is like if you do want to invest in some of your products, you can also negotiate with your factories to say, hey, I'm going to buy 5,000 units from you. You guys make them all, and you just ship me 1,000 per week. And then that way you can save your cash flow, right? So you're only going to pay them the 100% that you owe them for those 1,000 units, even though they have 4,000 that you paid only 20% for. So you can get them to ship them to you, and they will basically give you a free loan essentially a lot of times.
And this is once you build out the relationship with the supplier, right? Like somebody that brand new, can they expect something like this?
Yeah, I mean, you may not want to unless this is a legitimate supplier, because you got to be careful for them to scam you as well. But if you check out their references, you do your inspections, you can really do it. But yeah, it's sometimes you have to decide how you're going to do this launch, how many products you need. If you go too little, you're going to run out of stock, and then you have to do the whole process all over again, which I still end up having to do sometimes because you don't know how successful you're going to be, or you don't want to waste or outlay too much capital and then go, oh shoot, the straps fell off and now I'm stuck with all this product. So it's like a catch-22, and that's where the bigger sellers have a leg up, right? They already have profits to support the business, and they can afford to lose a few here and there, versus you who are like, okay, I just lost my first $5,000 and I'm done with Amazon. Can't do this any longer. So that's kind of where you have to go, okay, how am I going to get into this business? I mean, my whole career is now focused on like helping existing sellers scale up and stuff, and the newbies, there's a whole lot of training out there for them, but I think you have to just be smart about it, and don't run out of inventory if you can, and try to work on ways to say, okay, we're already 1 week into this launch, the organic reviews are coming in, everything seems pretty good. Okay, I'm going to put a deposit down that same week for the next one, right? Get that ready to go so you can order before you run out. Like, you could always say, okay, well, I'm not going to order till later, and so you don't have to pay the other 80% until it comes later.
So you're saying like you decide like within the first week or so, like how well this is going to go. You can just gouge it, like even outside
if you can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always can in the first week, but sometimes you can, and you say, oh, look how easy we're floating to the top, right? Look at customers are saying they love the product. I now have multiple units of my product in my hands, and I'm like, this is a good product, like I like it. Other people don't like it, and so you get that feedback, and you can kind of like, okay, we got to take the next step to grow this business, otherwise we're going to lose all the momentum that we built up.
And for products that you bring from China, you still have somebody inspecting them every single time, right?
Yeah, I do. I think it's worth it. Even if the inspection, they say that, they could be paid off or whatnot. I think just even having that, or even, when with my long-time suppliers, I would just do surprise inspections. But even just for me, getting those pictures of the product and the weights, and they always come back saying, not passed, but like everything seems to be okay, right? So like, but being able to see the weights, the carton dimensions, the packing style, you go, oh, wow, I wish you guys could pack it this way. Or like, I want everything packed inside of the bag versus like the bag crunched up at the bottom of the, the box. So I think it's really important to do that. And
And it keeps them
you know.
also accountable because I see another mistake that I see is, sellers getting very comfortable with the suppliers and vice versa. And they're like, I don't have to like pay for the inspection anymore. And, it only takes one time to mess up everything because you are building this beautiful brand and, you have like your ranking on point. And then, you're 1 year in, you're making all this money and then they mess up one time. That's all it
Yeah.
takes for all your ranking to drop and everything. And unfortunately, I see that more than I would like. And that's just
Yeah.
from one little thing. And I think an inspection is like what, $100, $200, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, nothing. It's like, the cost of like a few giveaways, right? Like it's all part of your marketing budget. You have to just, like I said, plan it out and go, okay, I know I'm going to lose this much money. I'm going to invest this much on marketing. I'm going to invest this much on the product. And when you take $200 and you split that across the cost of your product, it's like, it's marginal, and yeah, it really keeps them on their toes, and it gives you an idea before it leaves China, like what your product looks like, because you may never have purchased before. So don't make the mistake of letting a trading company or a factory send you product without getting inspection. That's probably the best rule for a newbie, like, because they want to save money. They don't, oh, maybe I don't need it, or this company makes a lot of backpacks. Like I said, I bought a backpack from Backpack Factory. The straps fell off because I didn't test it properly. So the other thing is be creative. Like actually take some time and think about how to test your product, because a lot of times it can look good, but then once it in function, it doesn't function as intended.
Yeah, and don't
And so,
expect them to come up with these ideas. Like you should
yeah,
be the one, like, hey, put the backpack on, like pull it up, pull it down. Like don't
yeah,
expect them to like automatically do this. Because I know a lot of sellers will say, oh, but I'm not the professional. They should know what they need to do. Yeah, but also you have to give them instructions. I feel like this is a very necessary thing to do when it comes to China
yeah,
or really any supplier.
yeah. They'll make changes, cut corners without even testing, because they don't have that Western thought process, or they just think that, oh, this is better, but then they didn't test out all the use cases, and a lot of times they have different uses for products. So, like your jade roller, it could look great and all that stuff, right? But then when you start applying pressure, the roller falls off. So
Yeah.
in pictures, it actually looks great. So my inspection company also sends me videos of the product being used and tested, and not just one. I want to see 5 different ones.
That's
So
that's great advice. Can we talk a
yeah,
little bit about reviews before we finish today? Because I feel like a lot of people still have that mentality, like you need to have like 5,000 reviews to be able to sell, and of course they get discouraged because they'll come on the market and you don't have any reviews, or maybe they have like 5, and the competitors they have all these thousands
yeah.
of reviews. So one, what do you do with that, and is it really that necessary to have thousands of reviews today?
Okay. Yeah, it helps, of course, right?
Oh, right.
It's like owning waterfront property versus like property that's farther back. Doesn't mean that there's no people that don't want the property farther back. So I look at Amazon like Monopoly at this point, right? Like you're basically staking your claim, buying land, and it grows over time with reviews, and that's the asset that you build. So again, to go back to the real estate like analogy, like some of these big companies like Thrasio, right? They're buying up number 1 and number 2 products because they know that land is so valuable, because it just continues to go up in value over time. And so, you might have only 100 reviews today, or 5 reviews, or 25, whatever it is. 1 year from now, you will have 400. And then a year from now, so like you will grow that, and you will figure out ways to accelerate that review velocity, and your sales will grow over time. And then eventually, when you have 1,000 reviews and somebody else has 10,000, it's not really that much of a difference to the customer. They want to see a quality product. If you have 1,000 reviews, the trust is there. Even if you have 100 reviews, the trust is there. So yeah, reviews are important, but today maybe you're not competing with that 10,000 reviews, but they might have 20,000, you'll have 2,000. And then it's like, maybe it's price, maybe you add a feature, maybe you can be more creative than the other person to win that top spot. But also top spots, put a target on your back. So I had top selling product in the fitness space, and it was like every day, you're getting attacked. So sometimes it's actually better to be 2 or 3, just kind of cruising in the back of the pack, and just and spending less on ads and just making more profit. So, don't always look at what other people have. Look at what you have and how you can be different and make more money.
That's very great advice. And yeah, because a lot of people, they come in and they just get so disappointed. And I can understand that, because you're looking at all these big dogs and they all have thousands of reviews. But I've seen, brands with like, starting with 10, 20, 30 reviews and still making pretty decent money. And I tell them the same thing, it's just a waiting game and like being patient, and you're building a brand. You're not just a company who's like going through like burner accounts or whatever they do, where it's like, oh, let me get 1,000 reviews and I may not be here tomorrow. But if your goal is to really stay on Amazon for a long, long time, then taking it easy is it's probably the best way to go. And I mean, you are very successful on Amazon, and I hope people really take your advice to heart.
Yeah.
And let me get more questions from our
Cool.
listeners.
Oh.
Hi, Zanyan. Jan, when you did your exit, did you use a broker? If so, what was your thought process when you decided what broker to work with?
I didn't exit with a broker, solely because like I said, I had so many things going on in my life with the multiple businesses, and I wanted to focus on RebaKey and the $1 Million Sellers Group. So my business started to become, it was all automated, but it was also my biggest risky asset that I wasn't paying attention to. So I sold it to Thrasio actually directly, and was able to negotiate a price I thought was really fair for myself. So. And it was a great decision. It really put a cushion behind me. It added some wins. And like I said, I have other brands I didn't sell. So I'm still, selling and doing all the same things. But it's really nice to take some chips off the table when you feel ready and you feel like you have other things, like my software and $1 Million Sellers Group that, I really want to focus on and take to the next level. So that was how I did it.
Awesome. So, are you planning to launch a few more brands this coming year, or are you just going to stay kind of with like the software, or what are your goals for next year?
Well, I still have a few other brands that I run. So we are growing those up now with my same team that I had, and it's important for me to stay involved in selling and testing out new strategies and testing out RebaKey and stuff like that, because I don't talk about stuff unless I've done it or use it, and I'll be the first to say I don't know. And then some of the stuff I've said here is like hypothetical or whatever, but like it's important to tell people like what is working and what for sure isn't. And so I like to have that, and I use my brands in order to test out stuff. But like I've had some brands from before I sold my brand, so I have like one product and it's already got almost 1,000 reviews, and so I'm just basically now putting a lot more attention into that. And I'm kind of doing the Thrasio model where I'm putting, instead of trying to go really wide, I'm taking that product and I'm really pushing hard on it, to grow. So I bought more inventory than I ever had, and just kind of focusing on one product that I know is the winner. And then once that's going to be, the best seller of the category, then I'll be able to like bring up the other products that I had already live. But when you start spreading your cash, and if you have limited cash, you start spreading it around, or you spread your time around, then nothing does really that well. So, I took the best product and now I'm pushing that as the artist, and we're currently like number 2 or 3 right now. And I'm pretty excited to see it get the bestseller, and then going into our season next year. So yeah, it's important to stay working on Amazon and learning the new strategies.
Yeah. Do you have a strategy or of how you invest your extra income? Do you have like, okay, I'll put 10% in real estate, 10% in this, 10%? Like, what is your strategy when it comes to that, or just whatever feels right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever feels right, maybe this week it's Bitcoin, next week it's something else, but
Have you
in
invested in
MDS, yeah, in MDS we have a subgroup called the MDS Investment Group, so like, we're all the same. We want to make money, we want to talk about money, we want to talk about ways to diversify, and we have some guys that are even doing like financial analysis, because they used to be analysts for some big companies. So they're doing like, here's my rundown on this chart and that chart and what to buy. So yeah, it's cool to like try out new things. Again, trying to like keep my focus on stuff. And 3 years ago I was really invested in Bitcoin and like doing it all the time and all this stuff. And now I'm trying to like, okay, I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole again, even though it seems so exciting. But it's just another way to put, but I would say put some money away in real estate. Real estate is my passion. And also I have a lot of knowledge with it. So it's very easy for me to like commit, make fast decisions. And I'm not buying in all different markets all across the country. I like buy only in San Diego at this point, even though it's more expensive. I have like a niche that I work on in student housing. Yeah, the stock market is really important. I think, since I sold at the time I missed out on fitness sales of COVID, but I did invest in some fitness related brands on the stock market and also on Amazon. So I was able to see more growth on the money that I took out of my business from selling.
I love that. I love investing. I try to learn as much as I can. I don't have that much time to, and for me, I can honestly say I've been pretty lucky when it comes to the stock market, because I've invested in companies that I knew and I use, like Apple, and I mean, I don't own a Tesla, but I mean, everybody knows like Tesla is something bigger than what we see on other companies. So like Microsoft, and when COVID happened, what I did, I invested in all these like airlines. I invested in the cruise ships and all of these that were so cheap. They were really like a bargain. And of course now, with like the vaccine coming out and everything, I can already see movement in these stocks. And I mean, how long are they going to be down? Like, are we never going to go on a cruise again? Are we never going to take a flight again? So it's just again, I'm not like an expert in stocks, but I just use my common sense and like things that we do on a daily basis. Like I invested in like a oil company. So just like things like this, like you don't have to like be so overwhelmed, because it can be overwhelming going in and it's like, oh my God, all these stocks, like what am I gonna buy? So if you have a little money and you want to invest in stocks, like I would say go for the safe ones that I mean, I don't know if I would go and buy Tesla right now. Maybe wait a little bit, because a lot, but like that made me a lot of money. Tesla like really did really well for me. So, and again, like you said, real estate, like don't keep all your money in one basket. Even if with Amazon, even though some people do so well, like they tend to forget, like you're on somebody else's platform, you're in somebody else's home. And that's why I love that you said, like, focus on Shopify for the next 5 years, right? And focus on all other platforms
for certain brands. Not everybody can have a brand off of Amazon. But with regards to stocks and stuff, like I've lost plenty of money too there. But like the best stocks I've ever had, are the ones that the companies that I know I love. I can see their future, right? The Apples, the Facebooks, the Microsofts, the Teslas, the leaders in their space. When you try to go down the rabbit hole of I'm going to do options on this really risky one, or I'm going to go buy this biotech or whatever, like you're probably going to lose money, many times as you win money. So, I've made the most on these like tried and true. And so like, when I sold my company, I know Amazon is going to crush it for the next 10, 15, 20 years at the very least. And so I have a large holding of Amazon stock. Like, I think it's the safest bet for me. I wish I put more in Tesla, a year ago, but I was like, this is crazy, but I did buy some because I want to be involved in the process and watching it. And so, yeah, you're going to have some that go up and down faster than others, but overall, like, buy the companies that buy the companies that you use, that you're passionate about. Same with your business. Like, don't go into an Amazon business and sell jade rollers and you're a man and you've never used one before. Like,
yeah.
Don't sell products that you wouldn't use, because it makes it way easier when you can talk about it, when you can demo it, when you can, interact with other people about it, or even write blog posts and articles and stuff about it, So
yeah, and it goes same for services too. If you're not really passionate in what you do, it's very hard to sell. Let's take our last questions for today, in which you kind of answered this. What predictions do you have for stocks and Amazon expanding in different markets come 2021?
This is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial expert, and I've lost plenty of money and I've made lots of money, and but Josh, we know that Amazon is going to grow. I mean, I feel like Amazon is not getting enough love in the stock market, and I feel like Amazon kind of carried the entire U.S. on its back through COVID and delivered products to people that they couldn't get otherwise. And right now, I feel like the efficiency, I mean, while we have limitations to send our own inventory in, it feels like our products are coming on time, like there's not delays. And I've heard this from multiple people, they're like pretty happy about it. And we know that Amazon is a force to be reckoned with. They're only in a few countries out of the entire world, right? So there's rumors there's a couple more opening up Q1 in Europe and Czechoslovakia and like some other countries, and they're just going to continue pushing. And they have the logistics, they have the technology, they have the assets, they have the sellers. I mean, it's really impossible to compete with. Walmart also going to be great, going forward. I think Costco, like big box stores, people are going to buy more in bulk and just kind of buy less often. Online shopping is way more prevalent now. So, Shopify is a great one, although highly overvalued probably, but at the same time, it will catch up to itself. But people are going to start buying, in bulk and then buying from other shops and trying to support smaller businesses that they want to succeed. So, invest in those. And I invested in like movie theaters as a cheap stock. You said like the cruise ships. I don't know if cruise lines will ever go back where they are, but they will go up. They will get business again. But I think people will go back to the movies. Like, you could buy AMC and some of these stocks for so cheap. And it's like, you're going to see when COVID vaccine's out and everybody's back. I mean, they're going to shoot up, like for sure. They already have. Every time a vaccine's been announced, it goes and comes back down.
And you can invest in some pharmaceutical companies that actually have something to do with the vaccine. Like I did that as well. I just researched a few, and they're doing pretty good right now. And once the vaccine starts selling, it's going to make a lot of money too. So there's always things you can take maybe half an hour, an hour every week and research if that's your passion is, and if you want to make some extra money.
Yeah, and don't forget, like you can also use your stock portfolio to leverage. So you can invest in Apple and Tesla and these things, right? And then you can borrow against that without selling your stocks and paying capital gains. You can borrow at 4 or 5% interest and use that for your Amazon business. So you don't have to sell. You can actually utilize some of that, and then eventually the stock will go up enough where you can even sell some and pay off that loan. So think about how you can leverage what you have in your business or in your company or your family or whatever, and start a business.
Yeah, maybe you should have a course, Ian, on how to leverage your stocks to open an Amazon business.
I'd rather just come on podcasts and talk and be relationship based.
You don't want to be a guru? That's unfortunate.
No thanks. Yeah. But I can appreciate it. It's a lot of work doing all this stuff, and so I appreciate what they do and how they expand our industry. And there's a lot of great guys out there, like Leron and Brandon Young, that I really believe in, and they're doing good things. So there's something to be said. Don't fall for those ones that are pushing ads at you on Facebook saying it's easy and whatever. You take this seriously and build a business, and you'll be set up for success.
And I love that we have this community to be with, like you mentioned, Leon, and he's a good friend, and Brendan, and we have so many people around us that we can always reach out to and get that feeling of like, okay, this is going to be okay. Cause that's what we are. We are a community. That's what you created with MDS. And by the way, for those watching, I urge you to, reach out to Ian and see if you can qualify, because again, I have never seen a more a better group that has so many intelligent people like together. And I always tell you this, I'm very jealous of it. I get to be your friend and attend some of your events once in a while. So, and that I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it too.
You are so amazing. Fun. Thank you so much for taking the time. And if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way they can find you?
You can reach out to me at ian@milliondollarsellers.com, or you can go to ian@RebaKey.com and reach out to me. And sign up for RebaKey. It's free. Create an account, be ready for your launch. You don't have to use it. And we have lots of videos that teach you how to do things and get your VAs up and running, stuff like that. And if you are doing 7 figures or more and you want to join a mastermind that's really well respected and has a lot of value, and I mean, people join, and like one little trick when you're doing $1 million or more a year, like can save you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. One little idea made literally, I think one idea made one guy like $400,000 in ads just because his business was big enough where he just did this one little thing and like has 5% ACOS. It's crazy. So take advantage. Don't recreate the wheel. Join and network with people. I even told people, like, if there's other guys in groups that you're in right now that are talking a lot, maybe you should reach out to them and start a little side, group of your own that you can say, hey, me and you, we always go back and forth on posts in this group or that group. Like, let's share some ideas, and everybody's down for that. So, give more, get more. That's one of our core values of MDS. Like the more you give, the more you get. And so I appreciate you, Frank, Bell, Isabella, for bringing me on the show and taking me out of my hole and working. And so, look forward to our next lunch and hanging out.
Thank you, Ian. We'll see you very soon. Maybe we'll have you back on here next year or something.
Love to. Yeah.
Okay. Ciao.